One thing you can both probably address briefly, but we'll start with the new county executive with the question: where do you see Sumner County now, and where do you see it 2 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road, 20 years?
Well, and I'll say that, and I guess I'll be careful about how I say it because we never know what the future's going to bring. But my vision, and I think Paul's vision of Sumner County is, we're a progressive county. We're in good financial shape. We do not know what this year's budgetary picture is going to be until the end of our fiscal year, which will be July the 1st. But right now, we look like we're pretty much on target. A lot of it's going to depend on what happens in the holiday season. But having said that, we are establishing a real retail base in Sumner County. The villages of Indian Lake are a prime example of that. They're growing. I think that we have an opportunity to expand that retail base. And I believe with some of the measures that the County Commission has taken in our investment in our schools, in a new building program for our schools, we have made the proper investment to attract new businesses to Sumner County. Of course, having said that, we need to support the businesses that we have here. But I envision this county as becoming a retail-based county so we can rely less on property taxes and have the option of collecting more in sales taxes, which doesn't cost our citizens the direct cost that the property tax does. Also, I think with that and our good school system, it really increases our ability to attract corporate entities into our county, and I feel strongly that we're going to attract some corporate headquarters inside Sumner County over the next 10 years, 5 years. And with that further, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because we also, with doing that, create more revenue. Therefore, have more money for good schools, roads, and all the other services we need.
Right.
Well, I would just echo everything that the county executive said. I mean, we have a tremendous new opportunity, if you will, with the new commercial and retail that we have here in not only Hendersonville with the villages, but in Gallatin with Village Green area and all over the county, really. I would just strongly encourage all the citizens out there that will see this and that could encourage their neighbors and friends and family. Don't go to Nashville to shop or surrounding counties. If you can buy it here, each piece of that tax dollar that you spend for Christmas or just in general goes back to our education system here and helps our cities and our municipalities and our county as a whole. You know, the good news is, although there's this huge economic downturn in the country, it is not as bad, quite honestly, here in Middle Tennessee. It's bad, and if you've been laid off, it's really bad. Mm-hmm. But it's not as bad as it is in most parts of the country. There is a little bit of optimism in there that some may not have. Our tax base, our sales on taxes right now are actually not down below where they should. We're not even below last year, but our projections are still down because of the economic downturn. So on behalf of for the county and for those that are trying to spend your tax dollars wisely, shop in Sumner County wherever you live and every chance you get. But I think we've got a long way to go, and there's reason to be optimistic if you're from here in Sumner County.
People need to understand that could ultimately help to keep their taxes down if they do live here.
Yeah. No question.
Yeah. Well, the state right now is going through their budget hearings, and they're having to make more cutbacks if things don't go well with the holiday retail season. Do you see the possibility of mid-year cutbacks, mid-fiscal year cutbacks?
Well, I think it's something we need to look at. I talked to our financial director today, and he informed me that on sales tax collections, we're really close. We may be 1% less than what we projected, which is good. That means we're up from last year because we had a projected increase when we started our fiscal year. Property taxes collections are actually up. So actually, when you consider both factors, we are even or just slightly ahead of projections. But depending on what happens on a state level, if the state decides they're going to cut our budget, or the federal government decides they're going to cut our budget, it's going to have a dramatic impact on the county's finances. And that's something that I know Paul as a commissioner and myself as county executive, we want to stay abreast of and we want to stay current on. And what I think, you know, our policy needs to be as we get through this holiday season, we see how this thing comes to light, we need to inform the county commission and the different departments around the county of the importance of adjusting those budgets and maybe slowing down on some of their expenditures so we can make those adjustments before we get down to July 1st and say, oh, well, by the way, we have really blown our budget. You know, that's one thing we need to be proactive about. Of course, depending on what the state does, there may be some things we can or can't do about it because, of course, it's hard for the state to take back what they've already given us, but what that's really going to have a dramatic impact on would be next year's budget.
Right.
Well, once again, I'll echo basically what County Executive said. There's not a lot I can add to it. I mean, we do know that the governor is anticipating and has announced about an $800 million shortfall. Sadly, that impact has already hit here at Vol State. And the president here, and I know he hates it as much as any, is tasked with a decision, if you will, on where to cut. I was glad to see the governor say last week that the very last thing that would be cut would be the BEP, which is the major funding mechanism that we get here in Sumner County for our schools and so forth. I'm not a pessimist in any way, shape, or form, but I don't think, from an economy standpoint in the country, that we've hit bottom yet. And I do think that we will hit bottom long before we start going back up. So that's not to say don't shop here in Sumner County, but there is, and it's just to echo what Anthony just said, there is reason to be extremely concerned about going forward and people that are bidding on projects, if you will, that we've got to take a second look at maybe going forward just to protect the taxpayers.
What do you think the likelihood is of a property tax increase?
Well, of course, as county executive, I'm going to give our county commissioners all the up-to-date information that I can possibly supply them. And of course, I, as county executive, will not set the tax rate. That's a county commission job. I think that the reading I get from my current county commissioners, and I just came off the commission a week ago, is that they're going to do everything they possibly can to avoid doing something like that. We want to cut where we can cut. We want to conserve dollars where we can. We, right now, currently are involved in a $150 million building program. We're in phase one. We're involved in building schools. Under the first part of that, we've appropriated $75 million of that $150 million. That's something we're taking a close look at. We're not going to stop building schools, but what we need to do is take a very prudent look at that and possibly slow that process down. That will give us a little bit more leeway so, you know, we don't strap ourselves so tightly that we're forced into a tax increase, I believe. So I think that we are in really good conservative financial shape. We're in much better shape than probably 80% of the counties in the whole state of Tennessee. We have a AAA bond rating. We have balanced our budget so far. Of course, our fund reserve, we need to watch it closely to retain that AAA bond rating. But I think that if we work together, we can come out of this thing, depending on what happens on a state and federal level, without reverting to doing something like that.